Hello my friends, Gary here from Triage, and I'm here to tell you this morning that you should not live like me. But that's not all I want to talk about, because I also want to cover a broader point which relates to how we interpret content from others online. There's kind of 2 points here. Number one, the over comparison with others, okay, people constantly comparing their lives to others. But then number two, people maybe over interpreting the meaning of someone else sharing their life. So for example, if I share how I live, a lot of people think he's telling me I should live like this. You know, people will say, Gary, you're all into this getting up really early in the morning, but me personally, I find I work way better at night. It's perfectly fine, my friend. Go work at night, sleep in the morning. That's absolutely fine. You know, if that's what works for you, be my guest. And this is so important in today's age because we're constantly exposed to the lives of others, and we're constantly comparing our own lives to the lives of others. And this is very inconsistent with the way in which we would have evolved throughout history. Because in the past, let's say you lived in a village with 1,000 people. Let's say there are 200 to 300 of those people that are within a comparable age category to yours. Half of them are the same gender as you. So I'm looking around at maybe 100 to 150 other guys and saying, all right, what are they doing? How are they living their lives? And because our community is relatively homogenous, we're all kind of doing similar things already. So if I'm looking at Paul's life or I'm looking at John's life, they're probably all fairly similar. Maybe some differences, but they're relatively similar overall. However, nowadays things are very different. Where if I go online, I might be inundated with content from a 27, what age am I? Am I 28? I'm 28 now. A 28-year-old male who's some sort of like crypto millionaire living in Dubai kind of guy driving fast cars. Like, I'm seeing that guy and I'm like, oh, I'm such a failure. Why am I living like him? And then I'm reflecting on how that life compares with the life of me and my friends, for example. And then maybe I look at some of my friends who have escaped and lived a different type of lifestyle. Maybe they're living like the kind of laptop entrepreneur lifestyle, or they're traveling the world living some sort of, hippie kind of lifestyle, whatever it happens to be. They're all different ways of living, and now I'm stuck with all of these choices. And I find that a lot of people, especially, I get asked this a lot in my Q&As when I'm on Instagram. It's deactivated at the moment, but normally I do Q&A type of things. And people will often say things like, hey Gary, I'm working this job, it's in an office 9 to 5, I actually like it, it's not the best job in the world, but I like it, and I'm pretty content in my life overall, but I feel like I should be doing more when I see all these people online. I get asked that all the time. People talk about that all the time, and I feel that myself sometimes as well, because you might have kind of everything going for you. Your family might be looking at you saying, God, fair play to Gary, he's doing well now. And in your community, you're respected and so on. But then you go online and you have these people telling you you're trapped in the 9 to 5 and this isn't the way to live. And, what are you going to do? Just go to school, get a job, have kids, live this boring life. And people are like, oh, is there something more I should be doing? And what I always try to say to people is, an ordinary life is fantastic. If you can achieve an ordinary life, that's brilliant, okay? And of course, there are going to be deviations from that. But the absolute basics of just having a steady job where you know that you have a salary or a wage coming in each week, there's food in the fridge and on the table, your health is in a good place, your family's health is in a good place, you've got people around you that you love and that love you. Maybe you've got a little puppy like me that makes you happy. And if you're really lucky, maybe you have a couple of hobbies that you enjoy. You don't have an excessive amount of debt. Maybe you're able to go on 1 to 2 holidays a year. If that's ordinary, that's brilliant. You're doing well at that point. And the reason that's such an important message is because even if you follow someone like me, I'm gunning for an ordinary life in many ways. But frankly, I'm a bit of a workaholic, okay? Like that's me. I'm always on. I'm that type of person. I'm always doing something. I want to be doing something. I'm always looking for more. And that in some ways is a virtue and in other ways it's a vice. And I always want to remind people of that, because people think that when I'm showing you how I live, maybe I'm up at 4 or 5 in the morning and I'm working through to dark in the evening, that I'm saying you should live like that. And I'm not. I'm absolutely not. Just like if I'm documenting my training, I'm not necessarily saying that's how you should train. There are similarities between all humans, and we all have some common needs, but there are also considerable differences. Even within Triage, the way I live versus the way Brian lives versus the way Paddy lives, and etc. for the rest of the coaches, it's different. We all live slightly different lives. There are common themes in that we all try to prioritize our health, we all train regularly, we all eat well, etc. So there's those common things which we believe everyone should prioritize, but there are differences. And that's totally fine. And that's really something you need to be reminded of in the modern social media landscape. And I know that some people have a very toxic relationship with social media because of this. Because there are some people who are able to look at the extravagant lifestyles, the extraordinary lifestyles, and take entertainment from it, and then go back and be content in their own life. But there are others who feel, I need to be chasing that. I need more. My life isn't enough. I need, all the shiny things. I need to be smoking cigars and sipping whiskey on a balcony in Dubai or wherever it happens to be. I need to have freedom. I don't want specific work hours. I want to be free from the man, free from the shackles of the 9 to 5. I get that. I get why people will be attracted to that. But some people, it consumes them. And they end up on a path that is incredibly risky. Because what you have to realize is that inherent in the observation of an extraordinary life is the fact that it's rare, is the fact that it's unlikely. What has worked for people like me for most of history? That's a reliable question to ask yourself. So, if you've no idea what you want to do in life, getting a relatively steady job, prioritizing relationships with your family, building a family, having property of some sort, doing all the basic things that people have always tried to do is a damn good start. Of course, that doesn't mean that you just go out and do these things just for the sake of it, but that you don't view that option of the ordinary life and the extraordinary life as being equally likely. Because I think that's what people do sometimes. They think that, alright, I'm leaving school, what am I going to do? I'm going to be an influencer. What do you mean you're going to be an influencer? How's that going to work? What's the probability of you living a long-term successful life as a so-called influencer? So anyway, look, I don't want to ramble too much on that. The primary point I wanted to deliver home is that if you're watching videos of me and how I live, or you're, asking me questions on a Q&A, you're following other people on social media, recognize that your life is different. You might have different needs, and that's perfectly fine. And me talking about how I live isn't a judgment on how you live. There might be judgments in some cases, in that I'm more rigid on some things. For example, I think everyone should exercise. If you don't exercise, I think you need to improve in that area. Absolutely. But if I like reading, for example, medical biographies or any other book that's there that maybe you don't like reading those books, yeah, that's fine, man. If I like dumbbell chest presses and you like flat bench press, that's fine, man. No problem. If I like my coffee black and you like it with milk, some of you are interested in accounting and finance. I like medicine and science. I like those type of subjects. That's what I'm interested in. Overall, I think that we just need to appreciate that there is value in many ways of living. And one of the things I'd like to remind you is that we are all nodes in the network of society. And one of the views that I do think is a little bit toxic is the view that we should all be trying to escape the trap of society. What you then have to ask yourself is, what if I extended this to everyone? What if everyone wanted to escape normal society? That you have no bin man, you have no carpenter to call when you need some carpentry, you have no plumber, no electrician, there's no one stocking the shelves at the shop, there's no nurses at the local clinic. All of these jobs, the so-called ordinary jobs, are of massive value. And I'm really uncomfortable with that idea that people should just be trying to escape that ordinary life. So there we are. It's just a bit of a reminder for you in terms of your social media consumption. Of course, this has applications to health and fitness, because I know there are many of you who follow people on social media, who watch fitness YouTubers, and immediately when you consume their content, you're tempted to try to live like them. But what you have to realize is that your own life requires its own way of eating, its own way of training, and so on. So if you have 4 days available to train, perfectly fine to customize your program for 4 days. If you can't have 7 meals per day because you have a real job and requirements and specific breaks, that's perfectly fine. Don't be following people and thinking you need to live like them. And most importantly, don't let viewing the life of someone else get you down. Because when you're on social media, what you have to realize is that people show you what they want to show you. And when you reflect on your own life, you're only reflecting on all of the deficits in your life. You're reflecting on all the negative components, and you're assuming that everyone else has their stuff together. So, my friends, I'm sorry that the message is so boring, but effectively what I'm telling you is that continue to live your ordinary life. It's perfectly fine, okay? If you're an evening person and I'm a morning person, as I said, be my guest. If you're a milk in your coffee person and I'm a black coffee person, be my guest. We like different genres of books, perfectly fine. We like different exercises in the gym, perfectly fine. Don't live like me, live like you.